author shared with us about your choice of sinful nature and your choice of the Spirit. Also, choosing freedom instead of slavery. God has a tendency to look at us and to see where we are, and He works out His plan so that we are able to kind of stand boldly in His midst and recognize the wonderful things He's done and agree with Him and say that we were wrong and you were right. Thank you for saving us. People talk about salvation. You need to know what it actually means to be saved. But in this book of Genesis, you recognize that after the first chapter, when God created everything, you have to recognize the fact that the earth was null and void. God made some. He really dealt with Satan and his all the other angels who turned against him, recognizing how the earth was from the very beginning. When after He created it, they were working back and forth, going from earth to heaven. But when they turned against God, God turned the lights out, covered it with water, and so that they could not actually land anywhere. They had to keep moving, and they had to move in the dark. They had no one to live in. They were all the spirits moving. Now imagine, a spirit needs dry land. Luke tells us about it. It travels around dry land, and then it finds a body to go into, and if it's available, it'll go right into it and start doing its work. The thing about the Spirit is it's a moving entity. It moves, and God did what God had to do best. He turned the lights out. No lights, covered the earth with water. One thing that holds those spirits is water. Remember the same incident that took place with the pigs, and when the demons asked Jesus, "Don't cast us out. Just cast us out. Cast us into those pigs." And He did. And what did they do? They ran, and the pigs said, "I can't deal with you all," and ran over the cliff, and they were drowned. That means it held them in the midst of water. But look at what happened in the book of Genesis. God created a wonderful place for Adam and Eve to have fellowship with God. Adam and Eve, whereby when God come to see them on certain times and any time He chooses, He had a place to spend with them in loving fellowship. But God also said to them earlier in that 15th verse, the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. The Lord God commanded the man, "You are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, for when you eat of it, you will surely die." He had freedom to do whatever he wanted to eat in the garden. But yet, somehow they chose to be captive. Basically because they didn't understand. They didn't know. They didn't know what it meant to not eat of. Like a child, you tell a child don't do it, and they don't understand what not to do. They say, well, why not do it in their mind? But they'll do it because of the curiosity. When they are either hurt or maimed or burned or whatever the case may be, they recognize there's pain. That's why they didn't want me to do that. But every now and then you do the same thing over again. Adults will know that things are not right for them. They know that they shouldn't do it, but they choose it out of so many different ways and reasons. Some to hurt themselves, to hurt others, but to say, I just don't know what else to do. But you do know you have a choice. You have a choice in the matter of everything. God does not force Himself on us or in us. God gives us a choice. He gave a commandment to Adam, don't do it. To Adam, the commandment was broken. They did it anyway. But see, later on in that same chapter, God came, in the third chapter, when they actually they actually ate the whatever from that tree of good and evil, something happened. They changed. They recognized that they were naked, and God came looking for them, and they were hiding. That did never happen before. Then they recognized too that, you will see me naked. And God said, who told you you were naked? We hide from stuff. We want people to see us in our nakedness. We don't want people to see us as we really are. Because what has happened is when sin comes in the midst of us, we don't want everybody to see our dirty laundry. God said to them, what have you done? He spoke to the woman, woman, what have you done? To unpack that, if we really want to look at what had happened, it is God had capitalized that which was the evil enemy that was causing problems. It wasn't in anything, it wasn't bothered, it was locked in. He created a world in which you and I can live, but all of a sudden we chose something else. But when we chose something else, which was the woman who said, let's eat this thing, the door was open. And something came out that God said, I did not want to release. We play around with it. We talk about it sometimes, but we don't have a clue as to what God said when he said, woman, what have you done? When sin was released into the atmosphere, it wasn't a mere fact that we just commit sin. If you want to personify it, it has a being. It's a spirit that has a body, a movement. It is now looking for somebody to get into. It is something that God didn't want to really wrestle with. He knew that when Satan, who was the worship leader in heaven, was able to get some others to persuade them to turn against God, he knew that that same element of betrayal was in that element of sin. Sin was moving in the midst of the two people he created out of all this stuff, even though he knew that you were not perfect. Because he did not make you as spiritual beings. He made you as part of the body, which was the clay of the earth, and part of the spirit by blowing breath into you. You were two parts. One inferior and one was superior. He knew that that inferior part was going to make some mistakes. But what was said to him is, will you choose me? Will you overcome the pleasure that you will seek in this world and I'm providing for you? And will you choose me over all of this stuff? But see, what was happening, then you had a two-part system. One part was the spirit was supposed to choose God at all times. The inferior part, which was the clay that he made you out of, or the dirt, that in itself really was flesh. And it stands for nothing. Either you choose God or you choose flesh. When spirit was released, that spirit of sin was released, God is saying it is out now. I can't let you stay in the garden. I have to put you out. Because you will live forever in that same state. God had already had a plan of how to deal with this. But can you imagine